Show of hands. Who has a collection? Oh, I see most of you do. I have a collection too. When I was a kid, people collected comic books, maybe baseball cards. Girls collected Barbie dolls. I was kind of the nerdy guy. I collected AM transistor radios. Raise your hand if you ever had an AM transistor radio. Well, I can see there's a few out there. It's been a few years. When you have a collection, it's very important to get the first one. And I have the very first transistor radio ever mass-produced. Would you like to see it? I gotta show it to you. Here it is. This is the TR1 Regency. This radio was made in 1954. The TI Regency radio, it has transistors made by Texas Instruments, and they coupled with a company named Regency to create the radio. They made 100,000 of them, and they wanted them out before Christmas, and they sold out. This exact radio is in the Smithsonian Institute. And it was given to the Smithsonian in 1986 by one of the guys that had something to do with its development. Here's the cool part. It's red. Red is a great color for an AM transistor radio. So this one is just like the one at Smithsonian. This radio has 4 transistors. Now, for those of you who don't know what a transistor is, it's a little tiny electrical component that increases the signal. Back in this day, this radio cost $49.99, equivalent to about $800 today. And it has 4 transistors. The transistors were very expensive back then. Put it in some kind of perspective. This radio is 72 years old. It has 4 transistors. This was the iPhone in 1954. And here's a fun fact. Your iPhone, it has 16 to 20 billion, I said it, 16 to 20 billion transistors. What this did was, it got you out of your home. It was a portable AM transistor radio. You got to take your music to the beach. You could listen to the Weather Channel. And maybe if you were on your first date, it kind of took care of some of that awkward silence. If you had this radio, you were the big man on campus. Because before this radio, radios were furniture. And they were powered by tubes. This is one of these transistors back in the day. These were the gold standard, but these were going to overtake tubes quite quickly. In 1957, the Russians put the first man-made object into space, and it orbited the planet. It was called Sputnik. Sputnik went around the planet every 93 minutes, and all it did was beep. It scared the living daylights out of us. You could tune your AM radio into Sputnik. My great-grandfather tells about a tale when he was on a John Deere tractor in the middle of a wheat field, and he turned his thing on, and every 93 minutes he could hear the Russian menace go overhead. 3 weeks, every 93 minutes, beep, beep, beep. We panicked. They had beaten us into outer space. So we tried to catch up real fast, and we had some big failures. But in 1958, when you bought a house, you could buy an option to your house. You could get a bomb shelter. Because if they could put that satellite up there, we believed they could drop a bomb on our head. Radios had a new slogan at the time. To sell more radios, they said, "Every shelter deserves a signal." If you were down in your bomb shelter in Kansas, you needed to know if they just dropped a bomb on New York City. Wow. In 1968, I got my first transistor radio. It had gone from 4 transistors to 8 transistors, and it was made by a company that nobody could pronounce. So they changed their name to Sony. Look where they're at today. I would take my little AM transistor radio and I would go into my room, and my mom would say, "Don't you listen to that radio all night." I'd say, "Okay." I'd put that radio under my pillow, put my little blanket over my shoulders, and I would tune my radio in. And it would transport me somewhere. Otis Redding took me to the dock on the bay, wasting time, watching the tide roll away, watching the ships roll in. That's right, and we'd watch them roll away again. Dang, here I was in Nevada, but I was now on the dock of the bay with Otis. Sad thing about that song, it was released 2 weeks after he died in a plane crash, but he was posthumously awarded a #1 hit record. About that same time, too, there was the other two guys. They came out with a song. I put it under my pillow, and it was about like a bridge over troubled water. It was about friends helping you over the troubled water. They would lay themselves down to help you get over the troubled water. It was a great song. And the last one I remember in 1968 was a guy named Bobby Goldsboro. And he sang a song about Honey. And Honey was his wife. But Honey, after a couple of years, passed. And he sang this song with such feeling that I was sitting right next to Bobby, crying over his loss. That's where these radios could transport you. They also took you to sporting events. Later on that year, I went to the Super Bowl with Joe Willie Namath. Yep. And during the press conference, Joe Willie goes, "Jets are going to win. I guarantee it." He guaranteed a Super Bowl win. How brash is that? They won. They beat the Baltimore Colts. And they were 2 touchdown underdogs. And I was there with Joe Willie and his running back. You're going to love this guy's name, Emerson Boozer. Now, there's a football name for you. You could listen to the Yankees play the Dodgers only late at night because some of the little stations had to shut down, but the big stations could increase their power. And your little transistor radio would listen to the game. You'd see the ball leave the stadium. You'd see the swing and a miss. You'd see the safe at home, all with your little radio. It was really a great time. I loved listening to my radio. Then, the biggest event ever in the history of man, 1969, Apollo 11. They beat us in 1957 with the first man-made object, but we went to the moon. And I went to the moon too. Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, it was all over my radio. And when it finally landed, and Neil Armstrong stepped down that ladder, and I was listening to him, he said, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." I looked up at the moon, and I was with him. That's the power of the transporter, or the AM transistor radio. Some of you out there may remember this. It brings back a lot of memories. It gives me great joy to see my radios. I have about 20 of them, and they all fit in a briefcase, because when you live in a small space, you're not going to be collecting televisions. But you can collect AM transistor radios. So I challenge you, finish your collection. Try and find the first one. Set them out so people can see them. Learn the history of what you got and pass it along. I am a caretaker of our technology history. Get yourself an AM transistor radio. They still work today. Thank you.